Hi, good evening, all. Good evening, Tobago. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening, the region, the Caribbean region. Good evening, the diaspora, the international community. Welcome to this week's episode of the Minority Report. I'm Marlon David, your host, and we're here back again on Tobago Updates Television, Tobago Updates Network, as we continue to execute the role and function and mandate of the Minority Council of the Tobago House of Assembly, bringing you the facts, addressing the issues, dealing with the pertinent issues, and exposing at those times that it is needed, those things that seem to be somewhat hidden from the natural eye. And so we always take the opportunity to drill down and do what in most instances may be considered sort of a forensic of the issues and the many issues, the plethora of issues that have been to date plaguing the Tobago House of Assembly. As we get into this show this evening, let me just give you the needfuls. You can view this program on the Tobago Updates website, the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, and the Tobago Updates Facebook page. New to our platform, and before I go there, let me say, if you are an AMPLIA subscriber as well, you can just turn your AMPLIA television to channel 102. That's channel 102 on your AMPLIA network, and you can view us in the comfort of your home, sitting in your living room. Invite your children, members of your family, even your neighbors, if you have that type of relationship, and let everyone come in and enjoy the Minority Report on Tobago Updates. New, and I know I would have said this last week, but it's new until we get accustomed to it. We are now on Flow. Yes, all subscribers to Flow, which means I believe all throughout Trinidad as well, all the subscribers to Flow now have the opportunity to view us live on channels 121 Hub TV and 130 AVS. So Flow subscribers, you can tune your television, your cable network to 121 Hub TV and 130 AVS, and you can indeed view us live. If you want to participate in the conversation, however, you can log on to the Facebook page and you can communicate with us. You can share your opinions. You can give your recommendations on the live chat. If you have something that you want to send for us, let's say a photo, a bit of information, a video of something that has been affecting your community, whether positive or negatively, you can do so on 284-6597. That is 284-6597. You can send us a WhatsApp on that particular number. So that is 284, let me repeat it, 284-6597. And you can share with us any bit of information, even if it's a snapshot, a screenshot of something, and you want us to be able to ventilate it, something may be affecting you in your community as an individual, or even as a collective, a village council, a community group, as it were, a church. Feel free to send us the information on that particular number, and we will indeed call upon the relevant authorities to have that particular situation addressed in as quickly a time as possible. So I want to invite you to sit back, get your glasses, get your notepads. This evening's program is definitely going to be one that is going to pique interest. I know some of you have been following a number of things happening coming out of the weekend and the last sit-in since we were here with you, and we're going to be discussing a lot of these things, bringing some clarity to some and unveiling and unmasking some of the deception in others. So as we do so, call a friend, call a neighbor, call a relative, tell them, listen, we need to log in this evening so that we can be informed with accurate information. So we're going to go to a short break, and when we get back, we're going to dive right into this evening's processions and proceedings and conversations. So stay logged on, stay locked on, share the live, and we'll be right back.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Springs. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
So, folks, welcome back, and we are heading right into our program this evening. But before I do so, let me introduce my team with me here in studio. To my immediate right, the always present and smiling, always venerable minority counselor, Petal Daniel Benoit. How are you this evening?
I am wonderful. Good evening, Marlon. Good evening to the minority leader. Good evening to Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, and wherever you are tuned into this program. Thank you again for staying locked on to the Minority Report. It's because of you why I would continue to say we are the #1 program on Tobago Update. So we do really appreciate the support, and we are not taking this support for granted. So again, we thank you for continuing to tune in and to support us. Remember to share the live, share the live, share the live. Be informed.
And that is, in fact, the gospel. That's very good news as presented. And to your immediate right, we have the minority leader, Assemblyman Kelvin Morris, ready, rumbling. We know that the last couple of days have been a mountain swell and momentum coming into this evening. So welcome, minority leader.
Thank you, Marlon. Let me say a special good night to Councillor Petal Daniel Benoit. Good night, Tobago. Good night, Trinidad and Tobago, and all our viewers logged on from all across the world. It's a pleasure to have you here. Share the live, share the live, share the live, and let's have some serious discussions this evening.
Very well. And before we actually begin the serious discussions, we have 2 birthdays I want to highlight. 2 birthdays. The first one, I want to say happy birthday and congratulations to the People's National Movement for reaching age 69.
Yeah.
Unmatched.
69 strong, not out.
Yeah.
The People's National Movement not only reaching this milestone here in Trinidad and Tobago, but also standing as the oldest functional political entity this side of the world. And that is no easy task. It speaks volumes to the People's National Movement as an entity, as an organization, as one with structure. And we have continued to see this organization propel Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to go as far as saying, and the region.
Agreed.
And in some parts of the world, what we have produced in terms of leaders and so on, we've seen unmatched leadership, and we now see many other leaders throughout the region reaching out to leaders who are part of this organization. So it's a phenomenal achievement, and from the looks of it, there is absolutely no indication of slowing down.
69 more.
I think the momentum is just increasing and increasing.
Yeah.
Minority Council, I know we had this awesome celebration you may have attended. How was it?
No, actually, unfortunately, I was not able to attend the celebration, but I took it in online.
I know that.
Unforeseen circumstances, but 69 years is a legacy. And I think many parties, we have seen as the People's National Movement, many parties come and go. Many parties would have come up against the People's National Movement, and we don't know where they are today. And even on our small island of Tobago, we also have a milestone celebration. And I think, we can boast as a movement, because as our founding father says, we are not the ordinary party in the sense of the word, but we are movement for all. And as a movement, we can boast about contesting every single election in every constituency and every district, local and general.
Wow.
I don't know which other party in Trinidad and Tobago could boast of such a feat.
I don't think any. Minority leader?
It's such a humbling experience to be a part of such an illustrious institution as the People's National Movement. And when you think about the founding fathers, and when you think about the real ethos of the party being this movement for all, cutting across racial divide, ethnic, social, it is a party that really embraces the essence of what it means to be Trinidad and Tobago and a Twin Island Republic. It is the only party standing right now that is truly a national party. Because if you examine the other parties as exist, you have either they are solely operating in the Trinidad space, so that's a Trinidad-based party, or they are operating in the Tobago space as a Tobago-based party. But the People's National Movement is the only party that actually exhibits, expresses that true meaning of what it means to be a national political institution, cutting across both Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, you know, it stands second to none in Trinidad and Tobago and across the region. And so the celebrations on Saturday, only brought that to bear in when you think about 69 being even older than us as an independent country. And
that is instructive.
It is instructive. And the history, the foundation as well. And it is, I always tell people, the reason why persons like myself and Councillor Benoit could exist and do so well, it is because of the foundation of the party that really prepares you. And the party prepares you for treating with governance, both in and out of government. And it's all about really putting country first. And that is why we are responsible in government, and we are even more responsible out of government. And that's why time and time again, the country has quickly returned the People's National Movement to government when we are placed in opposition. Because we perform so responsibly in opposition that when they weigh up the options, the People's National Movement is always found as the best option for governance in this island. So I want to commend, congratulate, and extend again happy 69th to this very illustrious, prestigious organization that is the People's National Movement that embraces all peoples of Trinidad and Tobago, whether you're rich, poor, not so rich, not so poor. The People's National Movement is a movement, a rallying cry for all.
And indeed, and to be 69, which is older than our years of independence, it says that the founding father didn't just wake up after we gained independence and say, let's start a party. He planned. So there was solid foundation laid on all points, and well said, guys. And our second with the greeting tonight is to none other than Nadine Stewart Phillips, our very own. Nadine is always smiling. She's always there to give a word, whether firm, stern, or otherwise. Many persons can attest to that, and indeed very, very active now in the East, especially vice chairman of the East Constituency Executive and so on. So we want to say from the Minority Council, the minority team, happy birthday going out to Nadine Stewart Phillips. And we know that she definitely is going to be enjoying it. Even when she's posing for a photo, she's always smiling. This smile, I think, is the classic look.
Yes.
So happy birthday, Nadine, and continue to enjoy it. Don't forget, tomorrow is back to work as usual. We have a number of things to get done, so don't overdo. Yeah? Right. So, guys, having done that, we had a sit-in last week, Thursday, and we want to dive right into the business of Tobago. we had a sitting last Thursday that some persons were confused actually, knowing that this sitting would have represented the time for private members' motion, which is the time that the minority, the only time that 1 in 4 months, that the minority gets the opportunity to present a motion. However, we observed something that there were 2 motions debated on the day, and then a motion was done, the one that came in even was put before the minority's motion. What transpired just in that? Because some persons have been asking, well, what took place? Why did
Well, I will call it what it is, how I see it and what I believe it is. It is suppression of the voice of the minority. So imagine you have all the sittings. In the only time the minority have an opportunity to bring a motion is on the third sitting of the legislative term. So for instance, in a real sense, based on how the time runs, the minority perhaps may only get an opportunity in 1 calendar year to bring about 2 motions within that period. And while the majority for that entire calendar year would have an opportunity to all the other points. And you would also recall the Chief Secretary, when he just took office, in his usual bombastic kind of way, would have declared that they were doing things differently, and they would be having special sittings to treat with anything that they need to treat with outside of the statutory 4th Thursday sitting, plenary sitting. However, what we recognize out of the blue, on the day the minority has the opportunity to have its say, they chose not only to bring a motion, but to basically take the spotlight away from the minority. In fact, their motion went for the majority of the evening. And the minority only had a very short window to have a very serious discussion. And when you look at the motion that they were treating with, it was a motion, one, in my respectful view, that all it required was the Chief Secretary doing his work as a Chief Secretary and utilizing the ambit of the Constitution that allows him the opportunity to not just write, but to have discussions with his colleagues and counterparts in Trinidad, the ministers, and even the Prime Minister, to have any discussion on matters of national security or any matter thereof. And therefore, for the Chief Secretary to pretend that this matter was so important, so urgent, that he had to come and get the blessing of the House to do what he had to do was simply politicking, political theater. And it was quite disappointing, and I think the people of Tobago should take note of the very attempt, which is very dangerous when it comes to democracy, that this administration would attempt to suppress the voice of the minority, which is also the voice of Tobagonians who voted, the 11,000 people who voted for the PNM in the last election.
Yeah, and just to support what the minority leader said, the order paper was issued, was sent out, and then there was a supplemental order paper. So it appears as if it was not
even an afterthought.
Yes. But based on the motion that was presented by the minority, it came across as if, we want to suppress the voice. So let's also, put forward a motion. And even while they went from, let's say after 2, because we had the question and answer segment when we started at about around 30, they would have debated their motion up until close to 8 o'clock. So the minority leader only had the opportunity to pilot his motion after 8. And even after the minority leader piloted his motion, the members opposite did not even see it fit to really participate. Because there was one point in time when the presiding officer was asking, after the minority leader piloted the motion, the deputy PO was asking, anybody willing to stand, to the point that I actually stood up.
Wow.
And because at that point, I could have. But what is even more concerning for me is, and again, they continue to abuse the standing orders of the House, because in a motion which was asking questions of a process in the division of infrastructure, you would think the normal thing and the rebuttal or the response, the first response to such a motion would come from the Secretary of Infrastructure as to bring clarity.
Or debunk. If
the information, if you have alternative facts, because we brought what we had as factual information based on what was brought to our attention. And if you have alternative facts to debunk, to rebut, then you present it. But that didn't happen. What transpired is that they waited for me to wrap up, which usually then the next step is to put the motion to a vote. That didn't happen.
Really?
So after they had the opportunity to respond, the member or the secretary did not participate in the response, only to come and invoke at the very end section standing order 26.2, which says that if the motion, well, really and truly is if in the wrap-up you bring new information and that is critical to the executive, then you now have an opportunity to, or the individual, you can now come and respond. But in the wrap-up was simply a summary of information that was already placed on the table that they should have responded to. And therefore, the fact that they invoked that standing order, again, is just to show the people of Tobago the kind of dangerous people we are dealing with, the kind of abuse that is happening with respect to the utilization of the standing orders that is happening in the Assembly. And where you don't have strong governance and strong oversight of those actions, then what transpired in the House of Assembly on that very sitting is what will continue to prevail because of this administration's deceptive and deceitful way in how they go about the business of governing the people of Tobago. It's always based on deceit, is always about getting a one-up. They believe that they're playing some kind of Mickey Mouse with the governance of people, and it's always them trying to play tricks.
Secrecy.
It's always about secrecy. It's never about being transparent. It's never about just simply giving information where the information is required. It is never about let us do right by the people of Tobago. It's always about them trying to play smart with foolishness.
Correct.
Because even as the minority leader piloted the motion and the motion was set out on the order paper, the motion basically identified the 4 emergency routes and asking for one for the process to be audited. Because of course we have seen in the public domain that there are a lot of discussion surrounding the process and what would have transpired with these 4 routes that were deemed emergency, and also asking for the immediate convening of the Public Accounts Committee. And Pastor Bain sort of stood up eventually to attempt to respond, but nothing the Assistant Secretary of Infrastructure dealt with, addressed any real substantive part of the motion.
Well, and what is a growing trend, and as we get into the eventual uproar that would have that occurred on that day, what if people who will log on and look at the sittings would recognize there's a deliberate attempt to lynch the minority leader in their response. So it's never about the substance of the information, but it's always about trying to personalize and demonize the individual, as to believe by demonizing the individual, they would somehow censor and take away from the credibility of the information.
Or the issue.
That is irrefutable. So because they cannot refute the information, they are trying to destroy the minority leader. And what the presiding officer, based on what I saw, because I stepped out of the house, and perhaps when we play the clip, minority council will give us a little more clarity. But if you review, you had a pastor who is a member was saying the worst kind of language that could ever pass in a parliament. And you had the presiding officer who sat back and was enjoying the presentation.
Very demure.
Very demure of the presiding officer and relaxed, enjoying the filth that was coming out of that pastor's mouth.
So let me go to the clip. I want the director to load up that clip so that all of Tobago can see firsthand what transpired in the house on Thursday involving our very dear Pastor Terence Baines.
God, people are listening. People, young people are listening.
Assemblyman Duke.
It's the same thing as in.
No. Have a seat, Assemblyman Baines. Let's set the tone for the rest of the year, please. Assemblyman Duke. Assemblyman Duke, you are addressing your colleagues. This is an August chamber, and I won't allow that. I won't allow that. I won't allow that. Officer, can you please escort him out? Can you please escort him out of this house, please? Kindly escort him out of this house, please. Officers, please escort him out of this house.
Because I elected to be in this house. But what was the man looking for me? What was it? You tell me when I was standing, what is that?
Minor.
Should I go in?
Assemblyman Duke.
Tell me what's standing, what I should permit it by. When should I point to this standing, what I said no. Or this should point to this standing, what I was standing by. It's not outside. It's a man, you can touch me as well. I just have to do something. You have to me too. Assaulted by Peter. You know, I said what's standing over there. Yes, take it back. If you touch me, I saw by Peter. I don't trust. That's not like you don't touch me. You will not come back inside, No. Let me address you, presiding officer. I want to come back inside.
You can take your leave.
Thank you. It's okay, it's like that, So what I bring out soon, I'm Mickey Mouse house. I'm Mickey Mouse house. And you playing me, mouse, in this house here.
Delia, ask him to cut the
Mickey Mouse house. This man is the presiding officer.
Not in the house, please.
This man was here.
Not in the house.
My phone is me.
This house now stands suspended for 5 minutes.
So once again, folks, we see total disarray and chaos in the chamber of the Tobago House of Assembly. Minority Councillor, you witnessed this thing firsthand. Though you look like you just put on your bulletproof vest and turn your back. Give us an account, probably what happened before that would caused it to become so serious.
So members, after the Chief Secretary would have piloted his motion, the minority leader would have responded, and other members from the executive would have spoken. And as we would have seen, the Assistant Secretary Baines was also responding, contributing to the motion. And he began the contribution by trying to describe or condemn the contribution of the minority leader. So he was speaking about it's so difficult for them to sit and listen to what comes out of the minority leader's contribution or the contribution on the minority side. And they have to have a lot of patience to sit there and listen. And then he went down into terms that was very derogatory.
Yeah.
And he started speaking about the contributions of the minority leader as latrinated talk. And, we started having an uproar because the minority leader had stepped out. By that time, Assemblyman Duke would have come in, and we were like, you're not contributing to the motion, to the essence of the motion. You're just speaking ill about the minority leader and his contribution, but you haven't really touched the essence of the motion. So the presiding officer would have indicated to Secretary Baines, stay in context and basically about his language. But right after she chastised him, like he just dismissed and continued talking about this latrinated ways and flushable ways and finding all different ways to sum up the contribution or the response from the minority leader. And I think Assemblyman Duke at that point probably just got upset and he had an outburst. And he started asking what was happening, like what going on in the house? What happening here really? And chastising the presiding officer because she seemed not to be taking the control that he thought was necessary to be taken at the time. And then it just escalated because Mr. Duke started talking about, to him this is like a Mickey Mouse house. This is a Mickey Mouse house. And he started elevating his voice. And we saw that the presiding officer was seated responding. So there was a back and forth with the presiding officer and Mr. Duke. And then she asked the police officers to escort Mr. Duke out. And Mr. Duke was asking, on what standing order?
Correct.
Am I being asked to leave? And then, of course, there was a back and forth between him and the officers because he was also asking the officers, on what grounds you putting me out of the house? Because I am a voice of the people. I am an assemblyman. I have a right to be here. I am here on behalf of the people, and you don't have any right or jurisdiction to put me out of the house. So he resisted, and with some cajoling from members of staff within the legislature, he eventually decided that he will leave. But before he departed, he asked the presiding officer, so when I'm coming back?
Oh boy.
Well, I could come back.
No, it's one thing to laugh at, but it is a serious matter. And
yes,
first thing first is it just shows the hypocrisy of these people because here, as you heard the clip, the same gentleman is saying that young people, children are viewing. But yet you are using the most demeaning kind of language. And the standing orders are clear. Standing order, I think, is 45.5, talk about imputing improper motive. And then it talks about insulting language as well. That you're not supposed to use.
Parliamentary language.
On parliamentary language and insulting language towards a member. And therefore, when you are talking in the way that the member was talking, he ought to have been stopped in his tracks. Because what we have been asking for as a minority is for the standing orders to be applied consistently, fairly, and impartially. And in a number of examples, you're seeing where the standing orders are applied on one side very firmly and on the other side very loosely. And therefore, that is what is causing the disruption. Because if there's parity, even if you're applying it poorly across the board, then but when you're being very forceful on one hand, and then very loose on the other, then that is what is creating this whole, generating this kind of frustration.
Yeah, but more than that, minority leader, I think if we stick to the issues, but because we want to personalize the whole the whole thing, then that's why we get down into the name calling. Because if you were dealing with the issue, it was their motion at the time that they were debating. So what did the minority leader said in his presentation that you had a problem with, that you had alternative information that you wanted to present?
And the substance of the response was simple. It was debunking this narrative that they came to say to the Tobagonians that the central government, as they usually try to put it, is deliberately underfunding, under-resourcing the national security efforts. And we were simply putting on record what the facts are, because the chief secretary, while you had even the ambassador from, I think, Israel in his presence, is saying to the ambassador, we have absolutely no monitoring of our borders as we speak. And that information was factually incorrect. And we provided the factual information that the two OPVs that we got, the hostile vessels, CG 41 and 42, are actually operating along the maritime borders of Trinidad and Tobago. So what is so lacunated about that information? And of course, we put on the record that sometimes it's important, while you are focusing on trying to blame the Minister of National Security, there are issues right here that can be addressed by you, that is under your control, that are also causative factors as to why we have a crime challenge on the island, because you gave a number information about gangs that exist right here in Tobago. And for gangs to exist, it means there's a breakdown in our family system, in our communities, our social structure. And you are responsible under the 5th schedule for community development, for education, because that is the schools.
Correct.
You are responsible for family development under health and family development and welfare. So all these areas are within your control, and therefore fix you first before you try to fix whatever you believe are challenges outside. And we weren't saying that everything is hunky-dory. We accepted that there are resource challenges, but at the same time, don't make it seem as it's not something that cannot happen or is not being worked upon. As a matter of fact, we had the Prime Minister at a meeting with the National Security Council had a meeting with you sometime in July. And then the newly minted minister in the ministry would have came to Tobago and met with you. The minister have on record phone calls unreturned by the chief secretary, where he's calling the chief secretary to have confirmation on the very issue of a location for the prisons. Because when they met initially, you will recall when the senior ministers of cabinet came to Tobago on the instructions of the Prime Minister and met with this new THA, that was one of the matters that was on the table for discussions. And they left with an agreement that, Chief Secretary, you would identify the location and you would make a recommendation as to the location. We would provide the resources. And up to this point, the minister is still waiting on this same Chief Secretary who is claiming that he needs some MOU
to talk.
And all the minister requires is for the Chief Secretary to return his call.
Let's answer the phone.
So to debunk this is what I want the people of Tobago to understand. It is that presentation that this goodly pastor, who is a member of the assembly, referred to as lacunated, to the point that it got Mr. Duke so upset that he and the presiding officer end up in this tiff.
So I want to move from there and go forward. Still focusing a bit on the member of the clergy. He went on to make a particular statement that I think is very critical for us here to pay attention to. It was short, but it was long. I'll ask the director to run that very short clip for us so that all of Tobago, all of Trinidad and Tobago can hear what was said.
We shall work assiduously to assist in the securing of a regime change in Port of Spain. I think I need to say that again. Yes. We shall work assiduously.
Member, your time is up.
So I want us, let's remember what he was said, what was said. Play it again.
Play that one more.
Because I have something that will come after that will help bring clarity to what he said.
I want to be.
Run it again.
We shall work assiduously to assist in the securing of a regime change in Port of Spain. I think I need to say that again. We shall work assiduously to assist in the securing of a regime change in Port of Spain. I think I need to say that again. Yes.
So, minority leader and minority councillor. We heard two key words there. Assiduously, which means tirelessly, and wouldn't give up.
They will go to the very end.
To the end, by all means necessary, any means.
Yeah.
And then the second word was assist.
Yeah. I think when we heard these words, the both minority leader and I just kind of like...
whole of Tobago. But before you go there, if you're assisting somebody.
Yeah.
And I want the director to pull up that photo for me, please.
The question is who you're assisting.
Who it is you're assisting. So let us see some of the people that this goodly clergyman, he does find himself in the company. Mr. Director, pull up. And for the sake of identification, I took the opportunity to outline the gentleman in case we didn't know. We don't recognize him.
His friends are quite interesting.
We see a number of
faces?
All these here. I'm sure the public very, very familiar with these faces. Mr. Dikoto, no longer with us, I think. We see Rambichan, Munilal, Ram Logan, Bohenjadat Tiwari. These are all members.
Tim Gopi
Singh, sorry. These are all members of the United National Congress.
And we see like they're having a toast to something.
So there you go. There you go. So we were asking the question because he told us. So at least the pastor came to speak the truth.
He came to talk the truth.
And because all the time they've been hiding.
Yes.
Even in that very sitting, at every opportunity when we reminded them of their friends in Trinidad. We were shut down.
And they attempted to object at one point in time. A member actually stood on a point of order because I indicated that they were friends.
And here is the
photos keep surfacing.
Here is the pastor saying to all of Trinidad and Tobago in the house, putting it on the records of the house, that this TPP party will work tirelessly, assiduously, will go do all things necessary
to help,
to assist, to put a hand, to ensure that there's a regime change in Port of Spain. And the question is...
Well, for the People's National Movement, sorry to cut you across. People's National Movement again boasts on winning alone and losing alone. And right now, it's the People's National Movement that is in power.
So obviously, so his mission is
opposing. Who is opposing the People's National Movement right now? So if there's a regime change, who is the major opponent to the People's National Movement?
And obviously,
say it slow, people have to understand.
So let me rewind. So the People's National Movement currently holds the reins of power in Port of Spain. So he's talking about the central government, right? He's talking now about the general elections. And he understands that they cannot win the general elections because they could only muster maximum 2 seats. But he also understands that those 2 seats are very critical to the overall outcome of the general election results. So this is where he's saying they will assist somebody. But we know the somebody is not the PNM
Because
the mission is
to remove the PNM.
Right.
So then, obviously, the next alternative in terms of party with that can compete with the PNM is who? Who is the
United National Congress.
And who we see him associating?
And who is he associating with?
United National Congress.
And who was he a former pastor of the Senate?
I had that one loaded to bring, man.
So no, I want to beg when you to connect the dots. So when we speak very convincingly and tell you that the TPP is the UNC's proxy in Tobago, we are not talking based on just political propaganda.
Yeah.
It is factual information.
And it's revelation season.
It is revelation season. So out of the pastor's own mouth came the revelation that they are working with somebody to ensure a regime change in Port of Spain, and that somebody, Marilyn put up the picture, is his friends.
Well, before we had to.
All right. Well, no. We're going step by step.
We're going further to solidify what you just said.
But so I want our viewers, because we're big. I remember Mr. London would always say, we're big
and we have
sense. And for those who, some of us have sense, but we pretend to not have just because we don't want to accept
the truth.
The truth.
But tonight, the truths are set all of us free.
Look,
these are fake profiles.
So tell me. Look.
So these are.
This is not Photoshop.
These are not Photoshop, my friends.
And the names there. So we sure this is what it's saying. Kevin Ramnarine is now going to be the UNC candidate fighting Moruga or one of these seats.
But we know he's a UNC, former UNC minister and one of their spokesperson even now.
Do not Meru, Chief Secretary, and I'm certain everybody recognizes the Chief Secretary, and Vishram Babwa, and they all happy together in this something of a celebration. In India's Republic Day, I don't think we ever celebrated that in Tobago.
No, I think that
would have been in Trinidad.
Diplomatic.
Yeah.
So he went down. He was invited, and the writing is on the wall. So who they going to assist?
So Tobagonians, when the thing is, I have absolutely no challenge, or everyone is free to associate. The Constitution provides freedom of association. So whoever they want to associate with, they're free to associate. But what we are saying is, at least, come on, man, don't take me for fools. If those are your friends, that is your friend.
Admit that's your friend. Don't pretend and behave as if you're not aligning or associated with them. Acknowledge your friends, embrace your friends.
If you are proud of your associations, then why are you hiding? If you believe your friends are good people to associate with, why are you so concerned about disassociating?
Yes.
Or when we associate.
Or when you identify. Standing on a point of order.
Yeah.
Right? Look, it's plain.
The member said he has no friends. He is not friends with them. He don't know if any other member is a friend.
Well, now we know.
But he has raised objection to.
So we seeing an unfolding saga in terms of the alignment. And I'm glad that all of Tobago heard the words. They will work. So if they're working assiduously to do that, when they're doing Tobago work.
Well, the point is as well, in terms of them working, it means that they're also using Tobago resources to help their friends in Trinidad.
And And bring
it
it
will
home.
carry, it will now segue into the next point and the next part of the program that we're going to. So when we've been telling you all Tobagonians that there's a deliberate policy of this administration to take the major projects and divert it to certain areas of Trinidad, then you should now connect the dots even further and understand why the major projects goes to certain contractors in South and Central Trinidad, which is the UNC base.
Yes.
So put it together now. So so this is what when the pastor said, we will work assiduously to assist. It's not just by words. It's not just by but it's by actions and by your Tobago resources.
Policy.
Because remember, the UNC is out of government in Trinidad, so they don't have as much resources to go around. So it is the Tobago resources that have to finance the UNC's effort in Trinidad.
Wow.
And therefore, this next file that I have in my hand that shows you the pilfering of Tobago's resources to contractors in South and Central will answer this question once and for all as to where the money gone and where the money went.
Wait. This thing hot now.
That is it.
We need answers.
So I want to go because we brought up motion and we didn't get a chance to really have that motion ventilated in the way in the public space because the chief secretary took the spotlight and Mr. Duke took it away from him. But I want to go back to the roads and I want to start with the one that was completed. That Dutch Fort Road for $19 million.
Colossal.
And in some people's mind, you hear $19 million, 19 days, and you say, wow, they finished the road fast. But I want to first remind Tobagonians what was the scope of that road. The road was simply building 3 culvert crossing. You know what is a culvert crossing? It is simply where basically where you have a drainage to drain, you have a covering that allows vehicles to pass over. So you had one at Smithfield, they did that there. There's one as you enter the intersection between the Port Mall and the Sangsas Hill Mall. They did one there, a smaller one.
Correct.
And I think they did one, but there were 3 culvert crossing that was constructed to facilitate this connection from Smithfield to Dutch Fort, onto Dutch Fort. And then all you had is about, I think, 1.5 kilometers or so of road, not new road, but resurfaced road. Right?
Yeah.
And when the independent assessor, quantity surveyor, assessed those works, the independent assessor gave a lot of leeway, considering that, you know, you would always have little anomalies in project costing. And so, even in giving some excesses, the total sum value of the works that was assessed was about $6.5 million before tax, and after tax, it was about $8 million. So what the quantity surveyor is saying, at very best, the total value of those works were a maximum of $8 million. But you know what? This administration paid that contractor, and we'll go into the details of the contract, $19 million. So understand this, Tobago. What was really costing you $8 million, you paid $19 million. So it means even after the contractor takes out his profit from the $8 million, he still has $11 million in excess. That is more than twice the value of the work. So it's more than 100% time the profit that he made twice times the profit, because the value of the works is 8. Even if you say 16, they still have $3 million excess again. So understand, when we say that they will work assiduously to assist, it means $11 million extra came into the kitty to be able to create that pool to the financiers to finance the activities to cause this regime change that they were so enthusiastic about working towards. So let us see how this person got this contract. Let us revert, because I just told you, so we are clear now that it was clear pilferage.
Yep.
It was inflated tremendously, alarmingly, ridiculously. But let us see how they got to that. This contract was first given to a company called Namalco. Tobagonians, I want you to do your independent research. That company, Namalco, was one of the UNC's favorite contractors, and one of the contractors that is so named in the EMBD scandal. Yet, that contractor was secretly given 2 contracts by this very same TPP Farley-led administration. And the question is, how did they get that contract? We asked that question in the motion, and not a single soul responded. And the best response the plaster could have said is, don't believe nothing Kelvin said, because he just come here and give me false info, trying to shoot the messenger. But you were the ones who gave us that response in a question and answer. When we asked who were the contractors for these projects, that is the first time we came to know that Namalco was awarded 2 contracts, but there were no details as to how they got those 2 contracts. And then we were told something very curious, that they gave back the contracts. And you're asking yourself, who in this God world will get a contract for $19 million or so
in this time
and return it, and one for over $65 million and return it? But so we have that curious arrangement which they have not yet answered, which they perhaps can't answer, because there was no process, and it means, therefore, that they would have found a UNC contractor and just gifted them a contract. However, what reasons unknowing at this time, this contractor decided he probably see trouble and say, see me, I'm not going through that. My name done Stinker Road, and I ain't going through that again. So they gave up that contract. So let us now see what happened thereafter. And I think we have some documents I sent to you. Now, I want us to go to the first document, the letter that was written from California Stockholm
to the division.
To the division. There's a letter that California Stockholm wrote to the division. I think I sent that to you, Marla. Yeah, I sent 3 documents to you. And we have them. You have them in minority chat as well.
Yeah.
I sent
1 minute, Mr. Director. So as we sort that out,
that's all good.
I found the thing.
Folks, this is important for us to pay attention. For those of you who following, take notes of this information, because this is going to give you a position to stand on when you're having conversations about what transpired in these transactions. You could speak from an informed perspective, because what we are presenting here is the facts. This is not made up. This is not Photoshop. These are the facts. These were letters that came from contractors. These are letters that came through the division. They were asked for in questions in the House, and these are the documents that were provided. So I want us to, Mr. Director, to pull up that last letter that I sent to you. Nice. So we up now. We up now with this one.
So the first, and we'll stay with the letter, and you would recognize this letter is a contractor writing directly to the project, the director of project management. And I don't know in terms of procurement where this kind of behavior is acceptable. Where you would have a contractor writing to an officer soliciting work. I know normally there's an RFP, and it is through the RFP that you submit a proposal. However, in this situation, hear what this contractor is saying to this worker that you are paying. You, the Tobagonians, are paying this worker to do your work and protect your interests. But the contractor is saying, dear sir, we are writing to notify you that it has come to our attention through the public domain. Through the public domain. Tobagonians, which part, which media house, which media outlet, which THA website, which THA publication coming from the Division of Infrastructure or the Office of the Chief Secretary or any division would have posted this information public. Where was this information ever made public? Yet this contractor is saying through the public domain. So I challenge the division to provide us with the evidence that this information was available to the public. Because as I remind you, the only reason why the minority found out about Namalco getting an award is because we asked a question, and to our very surprise, they were included as the first. In one of the response, they said it was Namalco, and then they gave it to California, and then they said they Namalco, and they are awaiting award of another. That was the Chauvin Road. But this contractor is saying that he found out about this information in the public domain when absolutely nowhere in the public this information was available. And he is that Namalco withdrew. But more than that, he's saying, therefore, we were invited to enter into negotiation.
Who invited them to
Who
enter?
invited them?
You understand it? So imagine, this isn't, so in other words, what he's saying, this isn't a situation that you submitted a proposal. No. It is that
somebody
they move simply from one contractor, giving back the contract, and they are saying they were invited to negotiate. Not even to participate in a new proposal, a new arrangement. They were invited to negotiate for the award of this thing via email sent on the 22nd. So this requires investigation to find out who was the person that invited them to negotiate
for the award
on our tender package, which was submitted on 2nd of September. Follow it, I want you all to follow, because he's saying this on 2nd of September. Then he says, as requested, we are willing to do this work for 19 million, whatever, and to be completed on the 25th of April. Here this says, this part, if our negotiated price is accepted, we guarantee you that we can adhere to our schedule to complete the revised scope of works on or before the scheduled date for completion listed above, based on the fact that our company is pre-mobilized to complete the works specified. And I just want you to go back up to the date of this. Just revert.
Scroll back up.
So I want you
Mr.
all to
Director.
follow me. Go back to the date
Go back
this
up.
letter was submitted. Right?
Go back up to the top of the document.
Yeah, we just want to get the date, Mr. Right. So this is the 3rd of October. But we have another document there, which is the invitation to tender. There's an invitation to tender document that was also sent out to selected contractors. I want us to get
That's the
that.
previous document.
No,
that we pulled up?
no. There's another document. Let's see if I could find it. Sorry. Back. Just folks, let's bear with me because we want to make sure that document is the 3rd of October, and we want to get to this next document. Where is our conversation?
On that, I also want us to point out something from the previous document. Mr. Director, pull back the document for me. And look at the top of the document. The date, yes, the 3rd of October. And we're seeing who the letter is addressed to. Because this gentleman, whom this same secretary would have indicated before time that he didn't know, and so on. This gentleman was now the newly minted Director Project Management Office. So the gentleman's name and his title, Director Project Management Office. Interestingly to note, and I'll ask the director to pull up the picture that I sent. I just want us to see something. The picture that I sent and the date on that photo as well while we getting the document. There's a lot of information, folks, but we're asking you to bear with us because we always ensure that we provide the public with the correct information. By the way, this is October 19, 2021. Wow. The same project director promoting. This is pre-election. Look at the name of the person promoting this flyer. So come back, Mr. Director. Let's go back now to the letter I sent. He was handpicked.
He was handpicked.
What
No
is
process. Didn't even go through a
director.
So
of what?
Let's continue to connect the dots, people, because remember I kept saying if we follow the dots, we will get to unearth. Because I tell you, there's something just sinister about these arrangements. And it is coming home slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. The chickens are coming home to roost.
Correct.
And all shall be exposed. So this is a prospective tenderer notice that was sent out on, check the date, this was sent out. So you note that the last letter was the 3rd of October.
Correct.
Right? The 3rd of October. Follow me. This letter to prospective tenderer is dated September 30th. And you will recall that in the previous letter, they talk about a negotiation.
But they talk about from the 3rd
of September.
Yes.
No, but look, scroll along, Mr. Director. Scroll along, Mr. Director.
Scroll down. Let's go.
Scroll along for me. Look at the on the site visit.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? And so the site visit is Monday, 3rd October. That is the very same day that the contractor is writing, talking about negotiating.
But look at the close.
Yes,
Look at the
right.
date.
So correct. So that's what I'm saying. Let us
So
follow
how on
the
the
date.
3rd you could be saying that a contract was awarded to someone and in the public domain you hear about it and now you come in to renegotiate.
So while you have negotiations going on,
the contract period end as yet.
You have a tender process going on the other hand,
that is expected to close after.
And that is expected to close in 3 days.
3 days.
But
negotiations happening.
Let's see what happened thereafter. So you have two processes going on. I want you all to follow me, viewers. So you have official tender process happening.
Right.
And then you have somebody talking on the side, negotiating because they already quoted a price.
They quote a price
in
that
the
they were asked
submission.
to do with that.
Right? So follow me. Let's go to the next
document.
The next document.
Minority leader, this is
the one that we sent before.
The first one that you put, you
had it
the
up
first one
already.
that you had up.
This is disturbing.
Ta-da! So, I want Tobagonians. I want you all to understand what is going on here.
Wow.
So you had, they created an appearance of a process. While this same person who wrote saying they are negotiating and they put the price already put the price. So the closing date was the 6th.
And
look on the 7th. Look what happened. So on the 6th, which was the date of submission, the very next day,
an award was issued.
An award is issued. So the bid closed at 1 p.m. And you are saying to me you were able to review all the packages, assess everything, do your due diligence, and award a contract the very next day in 24 hours. And therefore understand why this contractor was so ready and so able to mobilize.
But he also said that in his letter.
Yes.
He said
that he ready and
that he is pre-mobilized. But more than that, minority leader, what I find is disturbing is that before the period for submission of tenders would have closed, you have someone saying that a contract was already issued to somebody else.
And the tender process ain't closed yet.
And more than that, is also having direct conversations
with the
decision makers, and therefore we need to find out who was part of this tender evaluation committee
and who
and whether they have compromised.
Who advised to submit this tender. And even if you look at the language of the letter from the contractor, it says to discuss the award.
Yes,
he was certain that he is getting this contract.
He was sure as they. So, and what's the address of this contractor? So, just going back to tying the dots of why these people are getting the work in front of Tobagonians. Because we were told by the plaster that their mission is to do all in their power, even if it means breaking the law, to assist the UNC in a regime change in Port of Spain. And here it is. This is one of the UNC's, one of their financiers.
Yes.
This is one of their financiers.
And we're going to bring that
we have to, the next question is, who else are they financing?
Okay.
So one of their financiers.
More to expose.
Getting a contract in the way we just described, where you have them directly talking to people in the division while a RFP appears to be up. Procurement process appears to be happening in train, and they are so confident. But what is even more interesting, which we will touch on the next minority report, because we have more documents to come, is that this same contractor end up being the beneficiary of another road contract, emergency road contract, that also Namalco refused. So this seemed like the placement to Namalco. So every contract that Namalco gave up, this contractor was able to benefit. Tobagonians, as I saying again, they're big or they have sense, and they say not take candle and go look for thing in the night where you say it's in a broad daylight.
No, but minority, this is very disturbing. And
So this matter, as we have it here, this matter is one that we're going to pursue to the very end.
Correct.
This smells stink and ripe with corruption, insider trading, bid rigging, and therefore we will not stop at anything to ensure that justice is served. Because while this is happening, you have Tobago contractors
suffering. And you have Tobago
cannot pay their bills, cannot employ Tobago people. Tobago people, the families are struggling, the workers home idling, and crime is ripe. And this is what they are doing to Tobago people. So when they call themselves Tobago People Party, run them. They know Tobago People
Chase
Party.
them from by you.
They're not doing
Turn
the
off the
interests of
TV.
Tobagonians. So don't let them dress up and put nice name to anything Tobago, because they are not for Tobago. They are anti-Tobago People Party.
Wow. Somebody messaged a number of people saying this is plenty to digest in one night.
And there's more.
And there's more. As usual, we definitely not out of words. We're not out of facts. We're not out of documents. Because those of you all who looking, the minority leader have a stack of documents there in a folder. The folder could barely hold the information. That is alone to tell you how much information we still have. But we definitely out of time. But God is good, and He is going to cause us to be here next week, Tuesday again. And we will continue down this path every single week to expose and present the facts in the public domain. Folks, continue to log in, continue to encourage others to log into the program. Closing words, closing comments, anything. Minority leader, I know you're revved up. When you discuss this, you just get upset.
No, you see, what hurts me? You see, when you create hope for people, you criticize, you behave like everything that happened in the past was so wrong, and that you would do so right, and then now you turn around and take the trust of Tobagonians and just throw it flat in with face. And everything you say that you would have done, you actually turn around and do the opposite. So you talk about transparency, there's no transparency. You talked about accountability, there is no accountability. You talked about good governance, there is no good governance. And you talked about serving the people of Tobago, and you are not doing serving the people of Tobago. And that hurts me to the core.
They also talked about bread and butter issues.
Bread and butter.
And the bread and butter issues, what they are doing is taking bread out of Tobagonians' mouth. And daily, we see the pain. We feel the pain. People come to us daily for some level of assistance and relief. So it transcends, and if you're not seeing it, it's because you don't want to see it. Everywhere you go, wherever you traverse throughout the island, you feel the hardship. You feel the hardship in a time where there's an increase in allocation.
Exactly.
And if there's an increase in the allocation to the assembly, that ought to transfer to the people. You should feel that in the economy. You should feel that in how you do business. But we actually feeling the reverse. This is what you call feeling the pain.
This is feeling the pain. Folks, we are out of time, definitely.
So I want Tobagonians to do me one favor as we close up. I want you to assist the PNM in effecting a regime change in Tobago.
Assiduously.
I like that closing. Folks, thank you for staying with us for this entire program. I know many of you are messaging and asking for more. Next week, Tuesday, God willing, we are going to be back here from 8 p.m. sharp.
Log on.
Log on. Do not miss it.
Share the live.
This is just a scratch of the surface. While they still beneath the surface, we on top and we exposing every single thing. So we thank you for continuing to make us the #1 viewed program on Tobago Updates Network. And we say to you, be safe out there, keep praying, and have a good night.